Barbie, take your lady fashions with you. And so first of all, it's saying these fashions have a kind of power because he has to actively reject and resist them. And second of all, they are lady fashions. They are a gendered form of power that he associates with her. So I think there are a lot of different ways to talk about clothing in Barbie. It was really hard for this not to eat up the whole presentation because there's so much to say about it. It's very thoughtfully done. The costume director, for instance, talked about these outfits, these cowboy outfits that they pick, and say that that the question was, when they arrived in America, what would they wear? How would a Barbie and Ken, well, not so much a Ken because Ken follows, how would Barbie choose to wear what she when she wants to fit in and be liked in America? And this phrase stood out to me because it's implicitly saying that what Barbie is trying to do with her clothing is to fit in and be liked, at least at this stage in the story. That's the goal of her clothing, fit in, be liked. It's a social skin that allows her to interact in easier ways with the world around her. But she, as you I'm sure noticed, goes through a huge variety of clothing changes, and there actually are some really interesting trends when you stop and look at them. So day one, and I'm going to come back to this slide in a sec, but day one, basically every outfit she wears is pink. She wears a pink sundress, she wears a pink swimsuit, she wears pink suits to cheer on the Supreme Court. They're all shades of pink. The only exception is that evening at the dance party, which is just the whole party is themed white and gold and everyone's wearing white and gold. But other than that, she's wearing pink on her own all day. Day two, she has these 3 different outfits and all of them are blue. So I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that the filmmakers didn't know what they were doing there. So that's an observation, is she shifts when she's malfunctioning from the pink to the blue. But then she gets to the real world and she wears hot pink. Depression Barbie is this muted plaid that has both blue and pink and green in it, so it's kind of a little bit of everything. But then as she starts to get her mojo back, she wears these bubblegum pink jumpsuits, and then to seduce Ken, which we'll come to in a minute, she wears this very bright hot pink dress. And it's only after all of that is done and they've won the day and she's figuring out what she wants to do with herself that finally we start to see some neutrals. She wears a soft yellow dress in Barbie Land, and then in the final scene she wears this beige and white outfit, which we'll also look at. So pink to me is doing something here, and it's something that has to do with the identity of Barbie herself, where this first day when she is unself-consciously enacting her world, when I wake up in my own pink world, is literally what the song lyrics say, that pink is just who she is, and then when she malfunctions, she's something else. So she goes to the real world and tries to kind of enact pinkness with this hot pink rather than the paler pink. And again, it's acting pink, it's performing pink that she does when she goes and visits Ken. And then finally we get to the ending, which looking forward to discussing. So here we go back to that song lyric that I started off with. Either way, that power looks so good on you. So when Barbie looks in the non-existent mirror and she sees this person in pink, is that pink power? Is that what she's seeing? Or is it self-identity, or what's going on? Is this pinkness a metaphor or a metonym? Is it disidentification or identification? What is this clothing doing? So I'm ending less with a conclusion and more with some questions. The first question is this a metonym or a metaphor? Is the pink symbolizing personal power, self-confidence, the fact that pink is what everyone wears and what you're supposed to wear? Or is it a marker of femininity? Is it pink because that's what girls wear? Which, I put this quote on the bottom, is a relatively modern invention, that until the 20th century, pink was a shade of red. Red was a manly color. Red was vigor and fighting. and therefore pink was a manly color that women weren't encouraged to wear. So be that as it may, that kind of shows how effectively arbitrary these things are. But be that as it may, in the modern world, pink is viewed as a feminine color, is the baby pink or blue. And so is this pink symbolizing a metaphorical meaning, or is it showing conformity to feminine standards? Second question is, at various stages, how does she use pink clothing for disidentification and identification, and does she ever truly disidentify? Because disidentifying requires a marginalized perspective. That if you're punching down, if you're the majority culture appropriating a minority culture, that's not disidentification, that's just punching down. And so, given that she is at the top of the pyramid in Barbie Land until the Kens take over, can she really disidentify, even when, as in this scene, I love this expression of like cringing as Ken is correcting her on the name of his land. Even in this scene when she is dressing up, enacting pink in order to kind of appear to be part of the normal world that she no longer is part of, is that disidentification really? And finally, just like I asked about the Book of Esther, is the film disidentification, reclaiming a marginalized and stereotyped identity? You know, women have been reduced to Barbies. Barbie is a symbol of women as bimbos, as shallow, as weak. So is it using these symbols and characters of hegemony to illustrate the weaknesses of that hegemony? Or is it actually just performing identification and saying, yeah, Barbie's great, you should buy more Barbies? Obviously, it's a little more complex than that. But a question that came to my mind along those lines is part of what distinguishes fan fiction from corporate universe building, like the Barbie movie, which is based on a previously existing product, the Barbie doll, is the difference there that the latter cannot dismantle itself. That you need to be coming from an outsider's perspective, you need to not be making money off the product in order to effectively critique the product. So I have the picture on the right here of the cover of Wide Sargasso Sea, which is an example of how you can be making money off of something and still be writing effectively fan fiction that critiques. It is critiquing the story of Jane Eyre. But when Mattel is the one who made the movie, who is profiting off the movie, I think there's more of an argument to be made that this isn't the resistant practice that fan fiction is. And so finally, I wanted to end with, as many others have, the end of the Barbie movie, the visit to the gynecologist, or as I like to call it, Barbie's hysterical ending. So obvious, as you all gather, this is kind of a triple pun.